Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 11 of this season, coming to you today from Motorsports Arena, Oschersleben. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Charles, this is the second to last round of this championship, and to get up and rolling, we head off onto the shortened layout of Oschersleben. This is a track that we've seen get used a little bit over the years. Don't usually see it too much, but ever since this track and this facility became a part of base content, we've started to see it a little bit more. But I think I'm speaking for the both of us, really all three of us, including our producer Guido, where I say that this is probably the first time any of us have really seen a race on this shortened layout of the track.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we've, like I said, we've been to Oschersleben pretty frequently since it became part of iRacing content. But yeah, I don't think I've ever done a broadcast here in the B course, the short course here at Oschersleben.
It is a little bit odd, this track. It cuts out a decent part of the facility, and you pretty much rejoin it halfway down the back straightaway. It's going to be an intriguing race for these racers, to be sure, as we are set to wrap up Season 3 of 2025 here over the next couple of weeks. Of course, had the penultimate round of the Formula Vs yesterday at Lime Rock, and to have the penultimate round for the Formula Fords and Spec Racer Fords here today. But with that being said, let's take a look at the championship point standings as we head off into the final 2 weeks of this season. The transfer of power has really been complete in Spec 1, where Daniel Tufts sits atop of the board right now. 839 points is his tally as it stands right now, over Felix Samoa, slotted in second at 762. We saw those two covered by a pretty significant margin a matter of about a month ago, but over the past couple of weeks, Daniel Tufts has really taken a bite out of Samoa's gap, and doubly so with Samoa's not being here last time out at Sonoma, and Tufts finishing P2 in that race. We're on that in a little bit. That really allowed him to extend that gap that he has right now in Spec 1. Mikey Pollard holds on to P3 with Edward Buchanan and Michael McConnell completing your top 5 in the Spec 1 category. Gotta take a quick gander at Spec 2, where it is just about as short for Jason Chen to walk away from the season with the Spec 2 championship. The driver of the 814 car got yet another win last time out at Sonoma, holds on to 643 points as his tally right now. Andrew Love in the Spec 2 category with the green tags. Very interesting that he's sitting at 420 points as it stands right now, with Josh Wilkie, Paul Jackson, and Aid Allen rounding out your top 3 in the Spec 2 category. And now, Charles, it's looking just about short up in the Masters category for Antonio Rees, who, even though he didn't win last week, he's still been top of the top.
Yeah, Antonio is really kind of submitted himself with 2 races left. Almost insurmountable lead, almost 100 points. So with 684, Alan DeGasse is in second, very strong second place. So he's pretty much got that locked out as well. And then you got the battle for P3 in Masters. You got Stevie Ray sitting there in third with 480, but only one back is Jeff Wubker with 479, and I believe Jorg Monty was sitting there in P5. So still pretty tight battle for that final podium position in the Masters class.
Yeah, still a lot of championship battles left to be decided, despite the fact that we've gotten into this point of the championship with only 2 rounds left to go. A lot of these racers have been top of the top in all of their classes, and really unyielding in their dominance as well. Daniel Tufts last season on track for that championship. He did not win a single race throughout Season 2. Here, though, he has been rather quick. He's been a bit more flashy, though, throughout this season. But despite the fact that a lot of these championships may be on lock, we've still got some keys to discuss here at Oschersleben.
Yeah, absolutely. Our keys to the race today. Obviously, turn 1 and 2 is going to be our trouble spot today. A very, very tight, fast chicane coming off of the front straight. It's very, very difficult set of corners there, and it seems like we always end up having somebody just get it wrong and cause some contact and some drama. Also, pit entry and exit. We talked about it before the race. Pit exit, it's one of the worst ones, as it comes out right into that turn 1-2 section on the outside line. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And the entry is, as well as a wide, long entry lane. It's actually pretty tight. Wide off the track, that's what I should say, but a very tight corner that you have to navigate. If you get it wrong, then you're into the wall So you either damage your car or you just get by, but then you get a penalty on top of your pit stop. And then finally, the short course, I think, is going to actually increase the action, takes a lot of the technicality out of the track. So really, once you get through 1 and 2, it's a series of hairpins that are hard braking zones. It's going to invite people to make lunges down in with just only a small little S section on the back half of the circuit. So should make for some interesting racing today. I think that we may be in for a wild one.
Yeah, I have a feeling on this unknown quantity of a racetrack, we may end up seeing these racers see the red mist a lot more often than not. But let's do an onboard lap with Felix Samoza in the number 31 car as he heads his way down that start-finish straightaway, off into the opening series of corners, not having to worry about the pain in the ass version of turn number 1. We've got the good turn 1, heading off into hotel of turn number 2, a pretty medium speed, kind of medium to low speed hairpin, and then you got a small little flat out blast, heading off into turn number 3, another medium to low speed hairpin. Has a little bit of banking to help you out, but you gotta play the safe game through there. If you get too caught up on that outside curve, not only are you gonna be screwed in the setup into turn number 4, but you also may have a bit of underside damage as well, skating that car like a move from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. That was turn number 4, now into 5 Boshell curve. This pseudo chicane, it looks like a regular chicane if it approached the event horizon of a black hole, just enough to keep these racers on their toes. This is a quick kink of turn number 7, kind of similar in an odd sense to turn number 5 and 6, a weird sort of geometric S's section, I think would probably be the best way to describe that. And that right there is a final turn, turn number 8, Zeppelin curve, around a very short layout, probably one of the shortest tracks that we have visited all season long here for the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, as Samoza comes across the line and sets a 1 minute 4.896. He is currently qualified in P5 right now, in Joiner top qualifier of the racers as it stands right now to 104.5. Here's a newcomer to the series, pointed out by Guido a little bit earlier on in this broadcast. It's Cesar Manzanto in the number 444 car, the 444 for Manzato, and says Cesare, was Cesare, there we go. It took me a little bit, but I finally got the pronunciation right. But he's qualified in lucky number 13.
You did so well in practice before the race.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. I like practice the names a lot. It's like, okay, Cesare. As soon as we get on the air, Caesar.
Yeah. He'll be Manzato out of my mouth. That's going to take me a bit to get that one. So it's nice to have some new drivers out. As always, we love to see a little growth in the league. So hopefully he'll enjoy the racing today, and he'll be back for future events.
And certainly nice to see some newcomers out here on the racetrack, but it's the usual faces up at the top of all of our classes. Alexander Gorson, your top qualifier in Spec 2 as it stands right now. Nice to see Alexander out here on the racetrack. Pretty good racer on the official side of things, and nice to see him here in the Weekend Warriors, driver of the 621 car, currently qualified in 4th overall. Antonio Reese, as he has so often been throughout this season, the top qualifier in Masters. And this is a pretty absurd stat to talk about in reference to Antonio Reese. At this point of the season, with 10 races already in a rearview mirror, Antonio has won all but 2 of them. He didn't win Road Atlanta, and he didn't win Sonoma last time out for the simple sake that he wasn't even there. Antonio, he may get that new moniker of being the Weekend Warriors janitor.
He may indeed. We'll see. I think a few seasons back, I think York Monty got that moniker. I think he was he's the first driver to score 1,000 points in a season, and that was as a Masters driver or some bizarre stat like that. But just had a dominant season, and Antonio is doing the same thing. We talked to him, last season, where he basically just really kind of focused on the Formula 40s. He just wanted to get better and wanted to be more competitive, and he skipped out on the spec racer season completely. And really, you see the improvement is he's been dominant this season, winning almost every race. I mean, the races he's only missed one victory in races that he actually competed in. So it's a testament to what a little bit of hard work will do to improve your driving and your competition level as you go. And even the old guys can still get better, and it's good to see.
Yeah, really good to see Antonio and the step that he has taken over the past couple of seasons, and has certainly paid off here in the Weekend Warriors for this season as Ian Joyner comes across the line, already holding on to that provisional pole. And as much as he does not improve, doesn't look like anybody's really out there on the racetrack to try and challenge him. Daniel Tufts is out there right now, but I think he may be on a quite slow lap, as that's an interesting graphic, black in the first two sectors. I think that may be down to the fact that he's on an out lap right now. That or they're bringing out some new stuff with the other graphics right now. It's certainly a not very good lap probably from Daniel Tufts. Okay, there we go. So it finally appears right there. The black is actually the progress bar. You can tell that I know what the hell I'm talking about, but Daniel Tufts not going to have enough time as we pull all of the cars off the track, and we can look ahead into the 40-minute long race that lies ahead. Daniel Tufts getting abducted by a UFO. We can switch our attention into this race right about now by loading up the starting grid here for tonight. And as used to be the case a matter of about a year ago, but it really hasn't as of recent, as he hasn't been here too often, Ian Joyner going to start this race from the pole position. Mikey Pollard, off the back of that rather dramatic win last time at Sonoma, going to join Joyner on that front row. Hey, I'm a poet and I don't know it. Jay Ray will start this race in third alongside your Spec 2 pole sitter of Alexander Gorson. P5 will be Felix Samos. Alongside him will be Daniel Tufts. Max Gamble going to look to roll the dice here at Oschersleben as he lines up in P7. Antonio Reese grabbing the Masters pole, going to start this race in 8th. Jason Chen will start this race in 9th, with Daniel Verone rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, Michael McConnell is going to start in P11. Kevin Adrian's outside of row 6 in 12th. Mazzanto is going to start in 13th. DeGassis in 14th. Mario Ross in 15th. Lars Tiehaus starts in 16th. Jeff Wubker starting in 17th. Paul Jackson in 18th. Chris Montgomery in 19th. Ken Poulin starts in P20. Jim Brewster will start in P21. Jeff Browning starts in P22. Russell Telker did not set a qualifying time and will start in 23rd. And of our 23 drivers that are going to start this race, 19 are within 1 second of pole.
That's pretty wild. You know, we had a pretty packed in field yesterday here on Slow Motion Broadcasting for the Formula Vs. I think the entire field was covered by less than a second. I think it was about 8.5 tenths between your first place qualifier in that race and the last place qualifier in that race. Here at this track, it's not as much of a draft fest. You're pretty much turning throughout a vast majority of it, but it is a short version of this track. There's only 1.62 miles in length, 8 turns in all. And I mean, usually here in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, the field is rather competitive. Add in a short track to the mix of all that, and you have a qualifying session where it was only a matter of hundredths and thousands between some of these racers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very, very tight field, and yeah, as you said, it being a quick lap has got something to do with that. But you know, obviously, it just goes to show the level of talent we have on the grid. And we're looking at, you know, with a minute and 5-ish lap time, you're probably looking at 36 or so laps for this race, 35, 36 laps for this race. So lots of laps, even though it's still just a 40-minute race. And that's, once again, I think that's going to increase the drama a bit today. We get through turn 1 and 2 pretty clean on the first lap. It may be a very, very nice battle at the front and in the mid-pack as well for a vast majority of this race.
Yeah, I feel like there is going to be a whole lot of battling up and down this field as we get this race up and rolling. Lots at stake for some of these racers looking to get a good result as we approach the end of this season and to try and conquer an unknown quantity of a racetrack, you know, despite the fact that this is the one alteration made to it, this shortcut onto the back straightaway, the hairpin of turn number.
I'm patiently waiting. I have a little issue with Ron as he was talking about how we've cut about a half of the course off and made this a much shorter length track. And I think it's going to, like I said, I think it's going to increase our battling as we're rolling around here. I believe we're in, this is coming through, and are we coming up to the green flag? We are indeed, yeah. So here we are. That's the pace car is off, and we're coming around the final quarter, and we'll wait for our Ian Joyner, our race qualifying pole sitter, to take the start, and away we go. Green flag is in the air, and Joyner with a good jump gets out to an early lead. You see 2 wide, a little bit behind. Oh, and drama in the back. We had some cars around, and that is Manzato and Mario Ross, both getting involved there on the straightaway starting off. And we see another car wide. That's the 909 car of Jeff Wubker. So he's going to be able to rejoin, but we'll have to get a replay of that start here in just a moment. Do we have Ron back?
I think I may be back. I have no idea what in the world happened there. Is my voice coming off all right? Was it like some sort of lag
it
spike?
Was now. Yeah, it just dropped.
Yeah, that is bizarre. I'm not sure. I was like, is my microphone muted? I'm not really sure what in the world was going on there. But a hectic start a little bit farther in the back. Mario Ross going to get taken out of contention early, and tough start for Manzato, as he's now down in P22. The both of them with meatball flags. That's going to take them out of contention rather early on. Ian Joyner holding on to the race lead over Mikey Pollard and P2 Jay Ray, rounding out your podium as it stands, with the field heading their way off through the final few turns. Felix Samos and Daniel Tufts right on top of each other as well. Not literally, that wouldn't be very ideal. That's what Monsanto and Ross did right as they took the green flag. But those two drivers right close to each other. Samos is going to have to hope for one heck of a rally and hope that Daniel Tufts gets abducted by a UFO over the next 2 races if he wants to have a candle's hope of doing well in the championship. But it's still going to be nice to see those drivers battling once again.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see Samoa's taking a little bit of a defensive line coming down into the corner there as they're working their way around, still nose to tail, single file line. Got basically the top 18 are separated by 1 second between each car. So it's still pretty tight in the field. We haven't really got a big break yet, except where we have the instant. Russ Telker is about a second and a half off from Brewster, running in 19th. And Wubker and Brownie have dropped off the pace. Mario Ross is out. Looks like he is done for the day. And says Manzato is in the pits now, getting his repairs done. And still, obviously, we're only on the second lap, so I don't think that he's going to be able to go to the end of the race, even though I think we'll be able to stretch a little further than normal today because of the short track.
Yeah, that may be the case. We'll have to see what sort of odd strategies these racers may and try and throw their way as we take a look at that moment involving Mario Ross in the 78 car. And tough break there for Monsanto. He's now down nearly a lap, so we'll have to wonder how that's all going to work out with him as we take a look at some more drama that went on involving Lars Tiehaus in the 535 car. Let's take a look at this. Oh, big curb wax, and oh, Jackson.
Yeah, that was very lucky for Paul Jackson, as you saw Tiehaus. That's the one thing. That's one of the things that causes issues in 1 and 2 is those sausage curbs on the inside. But luckily, we got that little strip of gravel out on the outside of the corner of turn 2, and is able to arrest the speed of some of those cars. It keeps them from getting into the wall. So Tiehaus able to continue on. Obviously, lost some time. I don't think it's enough. Those curb hits are not enough to really damage the car, but they obviously will. They will cause a bit of a pain in the seat for the drivers. As we see Browning, same thing, a little bit off there, and I think Browning has decided that this is probably not the race for him, and has exited the server, I believe.
Yes, that's going to be the second retiree from this race already. Jeff Browning and Mario Ross deciding to call it a day. Only 4 laps in to this 40-minute long race. Ian Joyner still leading as we take a look to see a moment that may have gone on with him. This heading off through turn number 2. You can already see the gravel spread out on the outside with that small little, what I like to call the 5 feet of rocks on the outside of turn number 2. You got that small little patch of gravel that will help you slow down ever so slightly, as that was Tiehaus spinning and taking Russ Telker off the track with him in the process. That's one more thing to raise, talking about the braking zone, especially off into turn number 1. Very easy to have a little bit of target fixation go on.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's another one of the things that makes turn 1 and 2 very difficult. It just seems like this is obviously the fastest part. You're going to be at VMAX or very close to it coming down into turn 1, and sometimes you just can't get the line right, and you see issues there. But so far up in the front, seems like everybody's handling it pretty well. Little 3-car group, small separation back to Samoas in 4th, and all the way down. As you start to see the grid spreading out a little bit more, as we've got some cars that, the off tracks are starting to cause some natural breaks in the line there.
And now, on the subject of off tracks, I gotta wonder here, Charles, with the quick pace, quick nature of this track, doing lap after lap after lap after lap after lap after lap after lap, I gotta wonder whether or not we may have any sort of worries about incident point violations here today. 13x being the limit until these racers pick up any sort of penalty, and then once you hit 18x, you're gone. You're sent off to the Shadow Realm. You're done in one of these races. So I gotta wonder if we may have to think about that. These racers certainly feeling the burn at various points of this track. There may only be 8 corners in all around here, but pretty much every single one of them has their own little challenge that can throw these racers for a bit of a loop.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that we'll see some cars. I'm going to say that's probably going to come from the mid pack. Just the guys that we've already seen, like Ty House, that are struggling a little bit with 1 and 2. He may find himself in trouble later in the race as he's continuing to try and get 1 and 2 kind of perfected. But the guys in front, if they start getting off tracks of that nature, they won't be in front for very long. They'll start finding themselves in the mid pack, battling with cars they probably should be in front of. As we see another car off, that's Verone, gets it rejoined. So you see some issues with some of the other corners as well. So yeah, so I would say mid pack and back probably start looking after the pit stops at some potential drive-throughs coming down.
Yeah, and certainly around here with the pit lane taking up so much of the track length here, I'm not really sure what the sort of ratio is from pit lane to racetrack, but it's certainly a lengthy one if you do pick up any sort of penalty. And the pit lane speed limit really just leads you off into, as we were talking about right at the top of the show, the pit exit around here. I'm not sure. It was one of the more famous moments here at Oschersleben. I believe it was touring car racer John Cleland said about turn number 1, the version that we aren't running. The guy who designed that part of the track should be taken into a dark room and beat up at the head. The pit exit really nets that as well. As we take a look at a moment involving Lars Tyhouse in the 535 car, and yet again having trouble off into 1 and 2. I just said that moment with John.
And yeah, you were talking about it, and we've already seen Ty House with a couple of issues going through 1 and 2. Looks like he's still struggling to find the proper line through there, but luckily he's kind of in a safe space now. He can really kind of work on it and without danger of maybe causing contact with other cars, as we see a battle there between McConnell and I think that's Verone on the outside. Yep, that's McConnell getting his way around. Verone sliding back down into P12. The gases, Jackson, Poulin, Chris Montgomery in there as well. So that's kind of a secondary or third line of cars, as we see a couple cars in front of them. It's Adrian and Gamble. They've kind of built themselves a little bit of a gap. So they're going to be running. That's the edge of the top 10, 9th and 10th. And then we still got an 8-car group up front with a little gap between 5th and 6th between Tufts and Gorison, but only just 1 second. So obviously that's, as soon as we get a battle up front, that'll tighten that group down a little bit more as we're still back to the front here with Pollard. And it looks like pretty standard fare up front. It looks like nobody's really pushing the issue at this point. It might be a time to just kind of ride in line and wait for the pit stop, and then we'll settle it after the pit stop. So far, pretty standard up front, straight line, nose to tail, and they're just kind of riding around and running some of these laps off. And do we have Ron back? We still do not have Ron back, so we'll continue on. And so top 5, obviously you see them there separated by about a second, 1.2 between all 5 cars. Gorison is starting to close that gap down a little bit. Like I said, it's going to be difficult for them to close that gap as long as these guys up front aren't fighting. So he's going to have a little bit of work to do, but they are starting to close it ever so slightly. Gorison, Reese, and Chin, that second group that's kind of been split off from the back. Gamble, Adrian still down there 3.5 seconds back. And just, it's just one of those that's going to be the calm before the storm, I think, as these guys know they're going to be out there for a significant amount of time. just trying to run laps around the track and stay involved and not do anything that's going to end up ruining their race this early. As we fall back to this group with Poulin, got Chris Montgomery right on his tail, looking through turn one, not able to do anything yet, as we see Paul Jackson directly in front of them in the 249 car. And then back up to the front. No changes up to the front. Still the order of Joyner, Pollard, Ray, Samoas, and Tufts, your top five. So all of our championship contenders still in this main battle. Joyner, obviously, we've talked about him over the course of the season. Very, very quick driver. He doesn't always make all the races, and we do see Montgomery is now falling back. So I wonder if there was a situation here involving Montgomery. We're going to get a replay. We're on board with Ken Poulin as we're riding through around. There's Paul Jackson leading this group. Poulin getting a really good run late into the braking zone, and too much brake pressure and half spin. That's going to bring Poulin drop down behind Jim Brewster. And so Jim's going to move up to 16th. Poulin's going to drop down to 17th as we see Antonio Reese with an early pit stop at the 11-minute mark, our first pits taker. And he is going to play the Stevie Ray role and be our guy who's going to open up the pit window for us today. So he's going to come in and decided he didn't want to be in that group for the foreseeable future. So he comes in, takes his pit stop. It's going to drop him down to P20. He's got about a 4-second gap behind Ty House, so he'll have plenty of room to make some good laps and see if he can just maybe chew a little time off this lead group with an undercut strategy. As this group now is still obviously, nose to tail, no changes still. We do now have the Gorson and Chin. There's a nice gap between those two cars because of Antonio dropping out. So Gorson's now dropped down 1.8 seconds behind the lead pack. And then Chin is a second and a half behind him as we just keep riding along. So really no big changes that are happening. It seems like it settles down. So we're into our mid-race kind of flow when everybody's just really making laps. And then we'll start seeing other cars coming in and making early pit stops, trying to make the undercut work. We'll see who that next taker is, but we're going to be in this kind of lull until at least the midpoint of the race, till at least the 20-minute mark. And then between 20 minutes and 30 minutes is when you'll see the vast majority of the field coming into the pits. So nothing really happening there. Hey, there's one.
Yeah, I think I should be back as we see Alexander Gorson with a moment heading off into turn number 5. My internet connection is perfectly fine. The speed test described it as very fast. So I gave Discord a reload. If this isn't a problem, I hope it's not with my very expensive audio setup, and I hope it's just with Discord. If this problem continues on, even after a reload, I'll kick somebody's. Alexander Gorson with a spin off through turn number 5. That is going to be not too much harm to him there, as he avoided any sort of contact with the wall. Keeps it going. He's now back out there on the racetrack, currently running in 10th. That does give a bit of a cushion to his other Spec 2 competitors in the form of Jason Chen and Max Gamble, and now he's going to feel some pressure from the likes of Daniel Verone, Alan DeGassis, and Paul Jackson right behind him as well. Touching on these front 3, though, of Ian Joyner, Mikey Pollard, and Jay Ray. Jay Ray, a driver that we've kept tabs on a lot throughout the season. I think he's probably been here for, if not a decent chunk of the races that we've had thus far this season here for the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. Currently slotted in 3rd as it stands right now. Hasn't gotten a win up to this point in this season, knowing my luck he has on the one time that I try and assume something without looking at my chart. He probably has grabbed a win thus far this season, but Ray running in a pretty all right spot, P3. I think anybody involved in that pack, as long as they don't make a complete horse's rear end of the strategy, I think they still have a very good shot to get it done. Here comes Pollard jumping in front of Ian Joyner.
Yeah, first pass for the lead today. As we see, Pollard got a good run and is able to make his way around Joyner heading down into turn 1. That has been the only change thus far of the lead pack, as these guys have been pretty content to just run in line. Pollard obviously got a really good run coming down the straightaway, so I got to take advantage of that. And Joyner not really fighting it, just kind of backing out, letting Pollard make that move to the inside and take over, and that's probably a smart move on Joyner. Gives him the ability to kind of sit in second place and maybe save a little bit of fuel. for the next few minutes before they come in for their pit stop.
And hopefully my mic came across perfectly smooth in that first transmission of mine, knowing like I probably just jinxed it. That's going to cut off in about 5 seconds. But Mikey Pollard now holding on to a race lead over Ian Joyner. About a half a second gap is what it is between those two racers. Jeff Wubker, he's now exited the pits. He's currently running in P20 right behind Antonio Reese. I say right behind. The gap is a little bit bigger than just being right behind. But right now we find ourselves in, as you're describing a few moments ago, Charles, the mid-race doldrums, for lack of a better term. These racers just looking to try and set themselves up as well as they possibly can for the pit stops that lies ahead. Oschersleben, not really a track that's giving us too much for these racers to be absolutely terrified about. Weather conditions looking pretty all right, even though it's been rainy throughout most of the week in the officials. Currently looking at a completely bone-dry track, relative humidity at only 65, so it's not like these racers are driving in a rice cooker. And the track temperature is also pretty all right at 83 Fahrenheit with ambient around 72. So not exactly a spectacular level of weather, whether it be for good or bad reasons.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's pretty good track conditions today. No rain, low temps, going to keep the track nice and cool. Let those tires do their work. Obviously, these cars, we talk about it all the time, are just rely on mechanical grip, not really much aero performance involved in it. Even though they're kind of shaped like a cigar. That's basically just that helps them push through the air, but not really much as far as giving them a lot of downforce. But yeah, I did see Wubker going to the pit, so he is our next taker of pit stop. So he has gone a lap down, but he should get that lap back, obviously, as the rest of the field pits. And he just got to basically just stay out of the way until everybody gets through. Obviously, with blue flags, it's not mandatory that you give way, but I think a lot of these guys are very, obviously good sportsmen. They're not going to get in the way of a battle in the front. So he'll just kind of ride around as we're coming up to another lap 17, and once again, only real change in the front is Pollard has taken the lead over Joyner, and the top five continue to ride in line.
Yeah, everybody in the top five really taking it easy as it stands right now. Can't say that for the battle right behind. That's Max Gamble, Kevin Adrian, and Alexander Gorson duking it out. This is a battle for 8th as they head their way off into Hotel of turn number 2. And look at that, trying to rip it on the high side is Kevin Adrian. If these racers start to battle a little bit too hard, look at Michael McConnell and Daniel Varone right there to pounce as well. But here we go, Gamble and Adrian side by side into turn number 3. Kevin Adrian going to have that inside line and clear him on corner exit. Now Max Gamble going to try and lunge it down the inside of turn number 4. He holds on to it. Gorson now feeling some pressure from Michael McConnell right behind. Those two were briefly duking it out. Turn 4, the shortcut, as I was talking about right before the start of this race. That is the one major alteration made in making this short course that we're running here today. And even though it may not seem like the greatest change in the world, that turn a little bit tricky to nail down. I'm pretty sure I would not be shocked if that turn was at least slightly off camber, the track falling away from you as you get a little bit wider. As here comes Jay Ray on Ian Joyner down into turn number 1 and 2. He's going to try and sweep around the outside with Daniel Tuss saying the fast lap of the race last time by. Joyner looks like he'll hold on to P2 as Jay Ray going to back out of it and rethink that move as they head their way off into turn number 3. But no, turn 4, I have a feeling that part of the track may slightly fall apart. You got the banking through 3, but off through 4, I think the opposite is true.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. That's kind of the way it looks. It's definitely flat. There's no camber helping you get around that corner, and it may be anti-cambered. So that's probably a good call, and that does actually change a little bit of the strategy. Obviously, when most of these corners have a little bit of camber to support your, working your way around. Jumping to one that doesn't will feel a little bit strange. I'm just going to go back to that move by Kevin Adrian. Very nice job. Took it in deep on the inside in turn 1, got hung up around the outside, but stayed with it and was able to just work his way through corners until one became in his favor through turn 3 and was able to take that inside run and get that move made. So very, very nicely done by Kevin Adrian. You see it here in the replay. takes it inside and just works his way through. And once he gets it done, it kind of closes the door there on that car behind, the 277 car of Max Gamble, and is able to make that move stick. So great job. And now Gorson's looking to do the same.
Yeah, so Alexander Gorson looking to follow in suit. The thing is about being stuck on the outside through turn number 3, which is actually, there is a name for that corner. However, I do not want to pronounce it with that German name because I don't want my German ancestors to roll in their grave. We'll just call it turn number 3 for now and say that because of the banking, but also because of the outside curb, it's a mixed bag if you're stuck on the outside running through there, because on one hand, you can keep a lot of momentum rolling and you have a pretty all right shot of making moves stick, but at the same time, the outside curb there, as we have seen play out on several occasions, there's a point in the road as you come out of there, as I described in the track guide that we did a little bit earlier on in this broadcast. It's basically, if you get stuck on the outside there, hit that curb a little bit too hard, you basically pull off a move that you'd see in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. You're grinding coming out of there, which is, it may be good for style points, but not good if you want to try and get a move done. So I think these racers will have to play it a little bit cautious if they want to go for a move on the outside of turn number 3. Ken Poulin has made a call to come down pit lane, so the pit stop slowly but surely going on. It has a bit of torrential flood of racers making that call to pit. It's really more resembled just a poor old incontinent poodle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you see these 5, and I'm just looking now, and I'm kind of watching Jason Chin's kind of falling off. Now that he's by himself, the gap is starting to widen. I think it was at 7 seconds a moment ago. So he's obviously well off the pace of these front 5, which is what you expect for a spectator driver. You don't expect him to be up there battling with the leaders week in and week out. So obviously Jason's doing a very good job. He does have about a 7-second gap over Max Campbell, who's P2 in Spec 2 with Gorson in tow. And that battle is not over by any stretch of imagination. They're nose to tail on the track. So as we're seeing, that's a little bit wide there by Pollard. Was that Poulin? No, it's Poulin in the way. I guess Poulin has come in and taken his pit stop. He has indeed. So, yeah, he's getting lapped by the lead group and making things a little interesting for these guys.
Yeah, Ken Poulin, after coming out of the pits about a lap and a half ago at this point, he's in the midst of a hornet's nest. Holy cow, Samoas hang on to it as he sweeps around the outside of Poulin, coming out of turn number 6. He keeps it going in a straight line, probably picks up a 1X in the midst of all of that, but holy cow, that was some tense stuff. And all of that battling, Pollard still holds on to it. Ian Joyner, though, right behind. Look at the gap, less than a tenth of a second. I think we may see a little bit of bump drafting between these two as they head their way down the start-finish stretch, off into turn number 1. Max Gamble dropping down. I think he may be making a call to come down pit lane. Yes, he is. There he is on pit entry. The driver of the 277 car coming into the pits from P12 in this race, and shows you how long of a pit entry it is as well around here. Turn 8 of Zeppelin curve, that pit entry on the outside is a pretty big dogleg detour. So we talked about earlier on in the show, Charles, how bad the pit exit is. The pit entry, not a bed of roses either. That is a long run before you hit that pit lane speed limit.
It really is, and it's a little treacherous with that bend to get it turned around that 9 degrees and into the front stretch or parallel to the front stretch. It's a tough little entry there, and as you're at, it's just very long. It looks like it's going to the next county before it actually loops back around and it brings you down to the paddock. But it looks like all these cars have. This is this second battle or the second pack with Adrian Gorson, and now we've got one car coming in. That's Kevin Adrian, I believe. McConnell coming in, I think, as well. So we are starting to see the pit stop starting to pick up as these cars have came down pit lane. So they're going to come in and get their stop coming in together. So any thoughts? And we've got a black flag. I believe that means we're going to get a speeding entry penalty for Adrian. Yep, I think that's what that was. It popped up as he was hitting the pit entry line. So he's going to be another 40 seconds. So, Adrian had a really good run up until that point, but that's obviously going to cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, so Kevin Adrian really ruining whatever chances he had of doing well in this race. It was tough because he was running well, but that black flag really going to drop him down like a stone thrown directly into a pond. He's now down P17 and will likely lose out on even more time as he's still stopped there in the pits, having to serve that penalty. That's another thing to raise about these Weekend Warriors events. None of these cars, whether it be the Formula Vs on Saturday, these Formula Fords that we've got here right now, or the Spec Racer Fords coming up later on, none of them have pit lane speed limits. None of them have pit lane speed limiters, I should say. They do have speed limits, but they do not have a limiter button. So you have to do it the old-fashioned way. Flutter that gas pedal and keep an eye on that speedometer. Otherwise, you are going to be done for. As we take a look at a moment involving Ken Poulin in the 241. Alrighty. Oh, no. Oh, you can see that big curb whack into the wall. He's going to go. That was a huge hit there. Really all got wrong when he clipped the grass on entry into one and then tried to be a first German spacecraft in quite some time to get to the moon.
Yeah, he definitely did when he got those sausage curbs on the inside there, and that we did find out something, that those gravel traps will not work if you're airborne when you go past them. So that will not slow your car down at all if your wheels are not touching. So yeah, tough break for Ken. So that's going to take him out of the race. We're going to look. Kevin Adrian is down now in P19. He has got 15 seconds behind Jeff Wubker. So obviously that 40-second penalty is going to cost him significantly. We get Ian Joyner in the pits as well. I was going to say something earlier and I just completely lost it. So back to you, Ron.
Oh, don't worry. That happens all the time with me. I tend to lose my my train of thought. But Ian Joyner,
I'm sure whatever I was going to say was brilliant, but I just can't remember what it was.
I will take your word for it. Ian Joyner and Chris Montgomery have made the call to come down pit lane. Joyner exits out in P11, so 10 spots down from where he started in this race. But again, in the midst of this pit cycle, nobody really coming in unison. Just about everybody has said, you know what, I'm going to come into the pits whenever I want. Ooh. That is one breakaway. That's Mikey Pollard making that call to come down pit lane. Samoas, Ray, and Tuff's going to stay out for one more lap. And I doubt very highly that these front three are going to decide, you know what, I want to have a pit party right here. Let's all come down pit lane at the exact same time. I have a feeling that they will not do that. They're already duking it out into one as through into P2 goes Daniel Tuffs with that car coming out of the pits right behind, I believe. I'm trying to figure out who that is. That may be Montgomery that we just saw exit the pits right there.
Yeah, I think that's Chris Montgomery coming out of the pits. And so now Pollard, I think, was a reaction to Ian Joyner coming into the pits the lap prior. So he's going to come in and he's going to come back out, and pretty significant advantage over Joyner. It's like almost like 3 seconds or so. So now it's starting to drop down a little bit, so it's tighter. So now it's down to 1 second gap between Pollard and Joyner. So that's kind of what you would expect, with them coming just a second or a lap apart from each other. So, great job by Pollard. He does have the 1 second gap now over Joyner, so he's got to really push it, force the issue here, and try and keep that gap as open as possible. As we see Gorson coming out of the pits right behind McConnell. So he's got his pit stop done, and so now we only have the top 7 plus Ty House of the cars yet to pit.
Yeah, so just a smattering of racers left in this field yet to make that mandatory call to come down pit lane. That's mandatory by the fact you want to be there at the end, and it's also mandatory because of the rules. So we'll have to see who's going to be able to make this strategy work, who's going to be the last to make that call to come down pit lane as well. Usually we have that yardstick of Stevie being the first one to pit, but we don't really have a yardstick of who's the last to pit in these races, at least when it comes to the FFs. Usually in these spec race Fords, it's Flavio Angelo, who's like, you know what, I'm going to stay out for about 5 more laps compared to everybody else in the field. As we take a look now at Ray, Samoas, and Tuff staying out for 1 more lap. Will anybody make this lap number 27, their designated pit lap, looking right behind, involving Jason Chen? I think he's going to stay out for another lap. Maybe, potentially. I may have just spoke a little bit too soon there. Looks like he's still maintaining pace. I think everybody, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, going to stay out yet again. I wonder how long some of these racers are going to maybe make that fuel stay.
Yeah, I don't know, but I will say this. I did remember what I was going to say, and it was involving the pit stops. Is I will say that the official sessions are only 20 minutes long. So for the newcomers, this may be the first time they've ever had to make a pit stop in these cars. So we have seen with the newer drivers, because they've never pitted, they don't have the fuel set properly, or they may leave the tires checked just because they don't think about it, and it ends up ruining a potentially good result because they've, spent an extra 15, 20 seconds in the pits getting an additional fuel or a two tires before they remember that they don't need tires for this 40-minute race. And so, yeah, so that's, for the newcomers here, obviously that is one of those things that they're not having to, not used to doing. So it is a bit of a learning curve when you get here to the Formula 4 Weekend Warriors.
As we get a little bit farther along, we start to see some mistakes pile up with a black flag for Russ Telker, so that's going to harm his race in the 260 car. He's now slotted down in P18 and will have to come in to serve that. Alan DeGassis now into the pits himself. Paul Jackson dropping down as well, as he is probably going to make that call to come down pit lane. Yes, he will. So another flurry of drivers making this call to come down pit lane. I feel like usually here in these Formula Ford races, at least compared to the Spec Racer Fords, where we do have those pit stops to worry about as well, these racers usually split the strategies quite a significant amount compared to some of the other classes. Nobody has been unified in terms of what strategy they want to go for. Everybody, with maybe a couple of exceptions, has come in on different laps compared to just about everybody else. As we take a look at Jim Brewster and Ian Joyner, that's a battle for P6 on the road as it stands right now, but Joyner looking to remain in touch with Mikey Pollard right in front. That is going to shake out to be the net battle for the race lead, with the front three still not making that call to pits.
Yeah, and Jim, obviously knowing that he is not racing these guys, just kind of stays off the racing line. It lets the guys work, but he didn't lose any time. He really just kind of stayed in it. So he kept his pace, but just ran off the line and was able to hang on and without really delaying those other cars very much as they worked their way around. So good job by Jim. And he did push the issue as we see him now coming in for his pit stop, getting the car stopped just in the nick of time. And he'll come in and get his pit service done. And that will leave 5 cars remaining as we're at the 32-minute mark. And we are running a little bit longer. And I think it's because of these short. There we go. So we got Ray and Tufts in. Samoa staying out for another lap as we're running a little longer than normal. I think it's because of the short laps, and we're not at full throttle for a lot of the time, so we're able to extend a little bit. We still have Samoa's, and I think Chin has stayed out as well. No, he has not. He has come in. So now there's Samoa's and Tie House, and we'll see if Tie House comes in this lap when he gets to the pit entry.
Yeah, so interesting to see that Samoa stays out for one more lap. That's fascinating. I'm sure he'll probably come in next time by, as we are now officially into this final 7 minutes of this 40-minute long race here today for round number 11 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. Well, I'll let you all know that today's broadcast is brought to you by the fine folks over at Sim Racers Group, and you can check out their shows every single week here on SMB, as well as look at Joyner and Pollard swapping spots. They're going to have a quite comfortable gap, as look at Daniel Tufts and Jay Ray a little bit farther behind. They're going to have to catch up, and they also have a lap car between them. That right there is a number 10 of Kevin Adrian splitting that pack up, as well as here comes Samoez running off into the grass as he tries to negotiate this pit entry. This is going to be the money stop. 32.5 seconds is the gap between himself and Ian Joyner as he makes that call to pits. Will he hold on to the lead? Let's just see.
Yeah, we'll see as he's into his coming into pit lane now. He's going to get to his stall and stop. Most of the cars are running somewhere between 10.2, 11.3 up at the front. We did have Jason Chin with a very quick stop at 9.9, as well as Antonio Reese way early with a basically 10-second flat stop. So we'll see. Samoa's 11.1, and he's on his way out.
Yeah, and here we go from Samoa as being the last to come down pit lane has its perks because he has that much shorter stop. I don't think he's going to come out with the race lead. There you can see the likes of Joyner, Pollard, and others blow his doors off, but he will still exit out in front of his championship rival of Tusk and your P5 runner of Jay Ray. He's going to have to hope for a big swing, though, and probably rely on a bit of assistance from Kevin Adrian right in front, and maybe for these two to start to duke it out. But Ian Joyner and Mikey Pollard, they've been in situations like this before. Joyner, a champion from a couple of seasons ago here in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. He knows how to do well in these races. Mikey Pollard, meanwhile, we flash our minds back to the finish last time at Sonoma. He was involved in a really big scrap heading off into the final few corners, so he does not want to have a repeat of that. As we take a look now, that's Alexander Gorson battling out with Max Gamble. They nearly touched. I think they did briefly touch as they had their way down to turn number 3, but through 4, it's going to be Max Gamble holding on to P8 with that battle up at the front still in our forefront of our minds.
Yeah, absolutely. As Gorson and Gamble there did see some wheel crossover. I don't think there was contact, but it's been very, very tight racing between these two. Obviously, this is for another step up on the podium there for the Spec 2 category, and Gorson's going to get a good run coming out of the final corner. It's going to look as Gamble goes to the defensive line, staying very, very tight to the inside. So we'll see if Gorson can hold tight there on the outside and gets that pass done, gets the car checked up and slowed down through 2, and lost a little bit of momentum there as Gamble comes right up behind him, but nowhere for him to go. So Gorson able to get that position over Gamble, picks up P8 overall, P2 in Spec 2 class. McConnell is looking like he wants to get involved in this as well.
Yeah, so that battle's still going to be rather hair-raising for those final few spots inside of the top 10 as we jump back to this battle up at the front. Ian Joyner and Mikey Pollard still holding on to P1 and P2 respectively. Now about a 2.5-second gap lies between themselves and Felix Samoes. You also have that car of Kevin Adrian right in the midst of that, as well as look at Pollard trying to throw a haymaker at Joyner as they head their way off into 1 and 2. Pollard not able to get that move done to jump his way up into the race lead, but he certainly rattled the cage of Joyner quite a lot as they headed their way off into a hotel. That's Kevin Adrian jumping out of the way. Doesn't want to avoid any sort of drama. He just wants to let those racers go by and give us a fair shakeout for that battle for the final podium spot. As I have said and will continue to say, I'm pretty sure a shot at a win is really out of reach for these three that we see on screen right now. A 2.5-second gap in just about any other racing series is rather easy to pick up, but here in a series as competitive as the FF Weekend Warriors, a 2.2-second gap may as well be a vast yawning chasm.
Well, it really depends on the battle between Joyner and Pollard. If they start going side by side through 1 and 2, like they tried to do last time, then that gap closes pretty significantly and very quickly. So it's really going to be up to these two guys. They can battle, but they got to be very smart about their battling because it will not take these cars behind very long to gain that catch that gap up. If these guys are going side by side through the corners, it's just going to slow both cars down, and you'll see that gap close very quickly.
Ooh, as we look at Daniel Tufts, thought about going for a move around the outside of Felix Samoes. At this point for Daniel Tufts, what do you decide to do? Because you have a very comfortable gap in the championship. You can afford to risk this, but I'm sure Felix Samoes, at this point, for simple pride reasons, he wants to hold on to that final podium spot as we now officially are into the final 2 minutes of this race. About to get the 2 to go this time by, I believe, will your race leader of Ian Joyner, as there you can see him shipping it off, hauling the mail on the exit of turn at number 7. 2 laps left to go here at the line for Joyner and Pollard, occupying your front 2 spots. Samoes and Tufts still duking it out for the final podium spot, as look at Jay Ray, maybe going to risk it for the biscuit, go 3 wide as they head their way down that start finish straightaway. One of these racers is going to have to back out, but I don't think any of them will, as look at Samoes pulling ahead down to the braking zone. That's some close quarter stuff, and he's going to jump his way up into 3rd. Well done from Samoes. Daniel Tufts right behind in P4, and Jay Ray, despite making it 3 wide down that front stretch. Oh, contact being made. Holy cow, those racers very lucky to get away with one there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was Samoa's very, very late on the brakes going into 1, and basically just kind of rides through it and catches it up into and is able to hold on to the inside line and not allow Tufts to get a run. So great bit of driving there by Samoas, and then obviously the contact, everybody hanging on to the car. So great driving from all three as we've got this battle up front. I believe we're going to have white flag this time by. Here we go.
Yeah, the white flag in the air. One more lap of racing action here at Oschersleben, and it's Ian Joyner and Mikey Pollard running in P1 and P2. You can see Joyner trying to weave down this start-finish straightaway, looking to break that draft. May not be the strongest here in these FF cars, but it can still be strong enough to get a move done, but Pollard not close enough. Meanwhile, this battle for third still racy. Samoas. Oh, as that's Daniel Tufts spinning around. Oh, be careful. Oh, my goodness. That could have ended in disaster with Kevin Adrian. They keep it going. Tufts now down in P5. Any sort of hope that he had at a podium is vanished. Thankfully for him, he still got a very comfortable gap in that points championship. But Joyner and Pollard now heading their way off through turn number 4 for the final time in this race. Looking at Pollard, not able to make something work down into turn number 1. He's going to have to throw some haymakers at this and hope that Joyner has a small little trip up through the final sectors. They head their way out of 6 into 7 for the final time. Ian Joyner, a past champion here in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, has done well in this race. Started up at the front. He's been running up at the front ever since the drop of the green flag, and with that checkered flag out in the air, coming out of the final corner with a bit of a drift, Ian Joyner going to grab the checkered flag to win it here at Oschersleben. Mikey Pollard going to finish right behind the P2. Samoa's going to round out your podium in third, and look at Jason Shen. He's been the dominant racer in Spec 2 as he heads his way on to the start-finish straightaway. He's pretty much already your champion. He is your race winner here at Oschersleben. Antonio Reese, also your presumptive champion at Masters, gonna grab the Masters win yet again. At this point, that's his 9th win thus far this season for Antonio Reese. Fantastic stuff for him. But what a finish. Wasn't that battle up at the front that I think Pollard wanted, or we wanted, but I mean, still, that last lap always going to be intense.
Always going to be intense as we've got Verone. Is he out of fuel?
Thompson Trophy
winner. There we go. But makes it across the finish line, finishing in 12th, 4th in Spec 2. So good result by Verone. Yeah, not quite the battle we were looking for. We were hoping that we get that 5-car battle up at the front of the field. But Joyner and Pollard, really good show. Tufts obviously making that mistake there on the final lap coming through 2. That probably prevented a really good battle there for the final podium position. But still, safely going to be in the championship league going into the final week. And I think we can say that Antonio Reese has clinched Masters as we're on board here with the replay. And just a little contact there. I think maybe, and then not the best rejoin in the world, but, heat of battle, can kind of understand it. No contact made, so very, very lucky there. So yeah, just maybe Samoa's with a little parking it on the apex there, maybe catching Tufts out just a little bit, but you can see him just really hard on the brakes, trying to make up the gap and trying to get into position to make a move somewhere on that last lap.
It won't be the end of a Weekend Warriors race if these drivers weren't trying to give me a heart attack at the end of it. Fantastic stuff, though. Daniel Tufts, I can assure you the fact that it happened twice in the span of the final few laps. Probably going to see another one of those perfectly cut screams of an iRacing commentator YouTube shorts end up here on the SMB channel. I say in the coming days, I may very well end up posting that later on tonight. But with all that taken care of in this race, that was somebody airborne down at pit lane. I'm not sure if I had the exact same camera view as the one that was going out on the air. I think Paul Jackson just tried to achieve low Earth orbit and an incident heading down into the pits. We'll take a look at the results at the end of this race here. Lots of odd things go on here in the Weekend Warriors, but this is not very odd, although it is a little bit rare from the season to see Ian Joyner run here. Not very rare to see him win a race here in these Formula Fords. He gets a job done over Mikey Pollard in P2. Felix Samoas rounds out your podium in third. Jay Ray is classed in 4th at the end of it all. Daniel Tufts rounds out your top 5. Jason Chen going to seal the deal in Spec 2, winning that class with a P6 finish. Antonio Reese going to win it in Masters as well with a P7 finish. Alexander Gorson will finish this race in 8th in front of fellow Spec 2 competitor Max Gamble, with Michael McConnell rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, and Alan Nagasas will finish 11th in P2 in Masters. Daniel Verone finishes in 12th. Chris Montgomery 13th. Paul Jackson 14th. Lars Tiehaus in 15th. Jim Brewster gets the final step on the Masters podium in 16th. Jeff Webker in 17th. Kevin Adrian in 18th. Manzato finishing in 19th. Russ Telker finishing in 20th. Ken Poulin finishing 21st and 15 laps down. Jeff Browning exit early, finishing in 22nd. Mario Ross as well with the first lap 1 contact with Manzato and leaving early, finishing in 23rd.
So those are your results at the end of it all here today. Round number 11 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here at Oschersleben. A friendly reminder once again that today's broadcast has been made possible by the fine folks over at Sim Racers Group. If you'd like to see the action as they round off their F3 and F4 seasons respectively, you can catch that every single Wednesday and Tuesday night here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But we got some drivers looking to have a chat with us. I say drivers, we have one driver as it stands right now, and that is Ian Joyner. Charles, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with our race winner here. Sound good?
That sounds good. Let's bring Ian in here and have a chat. Ian, congratulations, another victory today. Obviously not here battling for a championship, as you're not here every week, but anytime you're here, you're a force to be reckoned with.
Charles, yeah, it was definitely a fun one. I really enjoyed. I think I've driven the track before, but I've done some practice this week. I had a really good race with Mikey and one of the officials as well. So yeah, it's good to be back. It was relatively clean one, really. It was, I pitted early, just because of the fuel saving. I didn't really want to sort of drop back. Actually, I did well. Mikey came past anyway, so I didn't fight him. But I think the strategy was relatively nailed on to 37 laps. Yeah, and because it's such a short lap anyway, there wasn't an awful lot to be gained. So yeah, I think I don't know, something like 9 or 10 laps early, I pitted, and then just hoped the pace would work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mikey matched
seemed
it.
like that was a really good strategy. Just getting in early and getting it done and over with, and just riding around. And looks like as you said, a nice battle with Pollard there in the late stages of the race. And he really kind of pushed it a little bit, trying to force the issue, but just obviously some really good defensive driving on your part. And, I think with the shorter course, made that a little bit easier. Obviously, we talked about the fact that there's some really hard braking points here, but with it being a very short lap, there's not really a lot of technical stuff other than 1 and 2. So it's basically once you get your defensive line, you can pretty much battle, fight anybody off that you need to.
Yeah, I think if you do get within about 0.2 through the last corner, you certainly can get clear on the straight. It's still going to be a bit of a fight into the first corner, but you can get the advantage. But it's just whether or not you can get through that last corner that close, which isn't necessarily easy. But if you can keep that sort of 0.2 gap, Mikey just got his nose alongside a couple of times, but you kind of need a bit more than that really to command it into the corner. So it was nice to be on a track where it wasn't sort of just automatic overtakes. So it made for a fun race. And I mean, it's been a while since I've done a few this season. I don't think I've had any where I've had any kind of gap. It's always been a race. And at the start there was 5 or 6 of us in the group, and there's just no way you can break that without something happening.
Yep, absolutely. I think that was what we did see as well. So, are you going to be here for us next week to round out the season?
I honestly have not thought that far ahead. Where are we next week?
Fair enough. I haven't either, because I don't even know where we're racing next week. So, maybe, I will just say congratulations on a race win, and we'll let you give any thanks for shout outs.
Thanks, Charles. Yeah, thanks you guys for the broadcast as ever. Thanks, Stevie. Shout out to the SRF team and everyone who took part in that last week, which was tough because of the draft and strategy and everything, but it was kind of it's fun to take part in that, and may give that another go at some point. Just thanks to all the drivers. Thanks to Mikey for the race.
All right, there you go, Ian Joyner. Congratulations, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers. See you soon. Bye bye.
And that right there was your race winner at the end of today, Ian Joyner, joining us here in the broadcast booth. And as that's been going on, I've been able to drag in, and we're going to have a quick little chat with our Spec 2 winner of Jason Chen. Jason, welcome here into the broadcast booth, man. Another Spec 2 win for you. How was it out there here at Oschersleben today?
It was a good race from my side, but a rather lonely one for most of it.
So, walking the lonely road here at Oschersleben, was that pretty much how it went from start to finish for you?
Yeah, I had a good start. I think I made up 2 positions and then I think the guys at the back were battling, so they fell out of the draft. But I was just, for the first few laps, just trying really hard to hold on to the draft. I was not lifting at all. I was like pushing. I was just barely staying in the draft. But eventually fell out when Antonio pitted very early. And then it was just a very long... I had no battles after that. It was just... I encountered a few cars that were like a lap down or something. But I just tried to run a good race. That was actually... I think it was my most like close to perfect race so far. I didn't really have any time loss like anywhere from that. Yeah. So it was basically as fast as I could have finished.
You know, as soon as you said a couple of moments ago that it was as fast, I thought you were going to drop the NASCAR Xfinity line and say that your car was as fast as Xfinity Mobile. I've seen too much racing over the past couple of days to, phew. But looking ahead to next week, we're going to be running at Donington Park on the National Lad, I believe. So, going to be out there on the racetrack for that to round off the season. And if so, what are your thoughts heading there?
Yeah, I hope so. It's a new track for me, and I'm also planning on doing the Indy 6 Hours in LMP2 like a day before that. So it'll be I probably won't have time to prepare. I'll be preparing for the Indy 6 Hours instead. So we'll see. I'll just hop in and see what I can do.
Yeah, I think you're going to be part of a pretty big club of Weekend Warriors racers running in that event, because I believe the fine folks over at Slow Motion Racing, headed up by Jason Green, are going to be organizing a LMP2 effort there. Those LMP2 cars, I absolutely adore those cars, but I could go on for many, many moons talking about my various opinions on the endurance racers here. But Jason, we'll let you give a thanks or shout outs before we let you go and celebrate this win.
I did not have one prepared. Well, just thank you to the broadcasters, you guys, and Guido for the production, and Stevie Ray for setting up and the league series, and yeah, thanks to all the racers that race cleanly, and yeah, that's it.
See, that's a problem with being dominant in a series like that. You eventually end up running out of shout-outs to give by the time we get to the end of the season, Jason. A victim of your own success. But
yeah.
Thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth. Well done on another Spec 2 win, and looking forward to seeing you out there at Donington next time out.
Thank you. See you there.
And that right there was Jason Chen, your Spec 2 winner at the end of this race. And Charles, we got time for one more interview, and it's Will Veronio, Antonio Reese, yet again winning in the Masters category. We're going to get the boo hiss from Guido as I drag him in here in a couple of moments' time.
Antonio, congratulations on the race victory. I think it's safe to assume that you are now the Masters class champion for this season. I think your lead is pretty much, even if you didn't show up next week, I think you're probably going to capture the championship. So congratulations on that as well.
Oh, thank you. I will be racing anyway. But yeah, okay, thanks for letting me know. I didn't be aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's going on, but I got some advantage on the points, so, well, that's good for me.
So let's talk about the race today. Obviously, you had a pretty good start and pitted. You were the first guy in the pits today, so decided that you didn't really want to ride around and came in and it kind of paid off for you. You ended up finishing 7th overall, which is kind of low for you this season. Normally, you're up in the top 5. So just talk about your race today a little.
Yeah, I was a little bit aware of the of the Masters group positions. So I was not trying to push too much because I didn't see any other Masters threatening like on the near me or nearby. So I was a little bit kind of going easy, not making too much mistakes, and try to get some more points because I didn't yet have the 9 races. So all the points it will count fully. So I was a little bit of a strategic kind of a mind chess play.
Hey, that's smart. I mean, it's when you're in a position that you can kind of watch and say, okay, I'm pretty secure. So let's try a little bit of a strategy play, and it just really worked out for you. I mean, you had a very a big gap over, I think DeGasse is in second, so you outpaced him by 6 positions today. So just a great job, and it's been a great job all season for you. It just seems like everything has worked out. Haven't had any DNFs, and obviously winning 8 out of your 10 races, and one of them you didn't even show up for. So just a great job all season long, Antonio.
Yeah, thank you. I also been lucky because the fast guys, they don't show up, so I have no too much kind of worry about. But also the consistency, kind of doing every race every week, also pays it off. So yeah, but anyway, it tastes good. I'm happy to get the championship. Yeah.
There you go. Well, Antonio, again, congratulations on the win today, and in the championship as well. And we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs and let you go and celebrate.
Yeah, guys, for you on the broadcast, you were awesome, and Steve Ray and all the guys helping Steve organize everything. The sponsor, I don't know. I think the sponsor is. Anyway, sorry.
Yep,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. A big thanks to them as well, and for the drivers, for the great Weekend Warriors community, and for you, Guido and Charles and Ron, and for my wife to support me doing this, and for all the guys watching us, a big thanks, a very big thanks. Yeah.
Antonio, you're racing the Spec Racers coming up?
Yeah, I will be there to die on the first corner, but I will be there.
All right, fair enough. Antonio Reese, congratulations again. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you in just a few minutes, and we'll see you again next week.
Okay, see you next week. Thank you. Bye.
And that right there was our Masters winner, Wolveronio. Antonio Reese joining us here in the booth. Clearly having some high hopes about the Spec Racer Ford race that comes up later on here today on SMB. But Charles, that was a pretty darn good Formula Ford race at a rather peculiar track.
Yeah, it really was. And, we expected a little bit of drama, obviously because of the configuration and the nature of this track. And it didn't disappoint. You had a really good battle up at the front for top 5 positions and the overall race win, which is what we come to expect here. It's just going to be, this is another day in the life of a Weekend Warriors racer. So looking forward to Donington next week. We'll cap this season off with a bang, and or not literally, just only figuratively. And so we'll look forward to that, and look forward to that Spec Racer race coming up.
And that Formula Ford race coming up in 1 week's time here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, going to kick off the month of September, and also going to be a double feature with the Formula Vs running on that exact same track, on the exact same track layout the day afterwards. So a lot of stuff to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting week in and week out. Of course, later on, we've got the Spec Racer Fords running at Long Beach. Sim Racers Group, the sponsor of today's broadcast here on SMB, going to be running their final races for the F4s at Sebring on Tuesday the 2nd of September, and then the 3rd on Wednesday, September the 3rd. It'll be the season finale for the F3s running at Road America. The Formula Vs, as I said, going to be running at Donington, with the FS running there, and the Spec Racer Fords rounding off their season here for season 3 of 2025 at Navarra on the medium speed layout. That's going to be a rather interesting race to look forward to as well. As we get off into the start of season 4, we got a new adventure coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting in form of the Extreme Motorsports Ferrari Road Oval Challenge. Challenge. That's going to be basically iRock, but with those awesome Ferrari Challenge cars, and that's certainly going to be a challenge for all of those racers, and hopefully all of you tuning into this broadcast will be able to catch that action here exclusively on SMB as we get off into that season here, starting up in a couple of weeks' time. But as for this broadcast here for week number 11 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here at Oschersleben, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi doing a wonderful job working the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into this broadcast here on SMB today, and we hope to see you all for that Spec Racer Ford race coming up later on this afternoon.